Hey, finally, we're here to talk about some very good news, aren't we? And it's all about Bryan Mbeumo. I mean, my last video, I was there talking about, should we move on? When do we feel like we're getting duped? Well, we haven't been duped. We have got Bryan Mbeumo, and at the time of making this, depending on when this video goes out, he has been at Carrington over the past 2 days, like taking pictures and doing the interviews. He's ours. He's ours now, and it's really nice to see Manchester United make this kind of signing, especially when it looked like it was teetering on the edge for a little bit. But we are going to get into why I think that Bryan Mbeumo is a fantastic signing for Manchester United on multiple fronts, and I want to hear what you think about it. So make sure you get your opinions in the comments, because your views is just as good as mine, and I want to have a conversation with all of you, because that's what this channel is about. This is the non-toxic, healthy Manchester United platform, and how lovely is it to finally be able to talk about something beautiful in the last few weeks and enjoy this community for what it's worth. And just a note on that, by the way, I remember starting off the summer and we were a third of our way onto the 10k mark, which is like 3,300 literally. We've blasted past the 6,700 mark now. We've doubled it, and we're 2/3 on our way now towards that 10k start to try and get for the beginning of the season. So please, if you're enjoying this and if you want to be part of the healthiest Manchester United community in the world, then drop a follow, subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to this. Now let's get into Bryan Mbeumo, because I am very excited for this one. And I'm seeing, do you know what, it makes me even more excited? I love it when there are rival fans that want to make me feel like this isn't a good deal. It's so nice. And the first thing I want to go through, and this is a bit of a personal one that I like to see when it comes to footballers, is this is the perfect step on the journey of Bryan Mbeumo. And, you know, he's 25 years old now. We'll get into later about how brilliant that is for a signing to get a player on the cusp of his prime. But also, you know, you see like his old French team, the name escapes me now, but his old French team like giving him the love that he deserves. And then he went to Brighton about 4 or 5 years ago now. I think that when they were in the Championship, he helped guide them massively in his first few seasons in English football to get into the Premier League. And he's just gone from strength to strength. In his last 3 years at Brentford, he's got 15 plus goals and assists in the Premier League. Last season, we know he hit stupid numbers, 20 goals and 7 assists. So we know that it was ready for him to make another move. And I know people are going to be like, oh, well, Brentford finished higher than Man United. Yeah, majority of people did. But the problem with that logic is you're not going to tell me that any of the teams that finished above us, barring the conversation that we unfortunately have to have with Liverpool, is in terms of the success that they've had. But we are still a much bigger proposition than most teams in Europe, barring Real Madrid and Barcelona. And I think being able to make that step up in terms of expectation and in terms of what's going to be put on you moving forward is massive for Mbeumo. So it's a good move for him. It's a really positive move for him and his career. And in terms of us as well, we're getting someone who still has something to prove. Like, he hasn't really won anything of note in terms of personal or like team honours with Brentford. So he's going to be coming into Manchester United chomping at the bit. And it's that same logic that I applied with other players who have already been there and done that. Like, what are they going to come into Manchester United to try and achieve? But Mbeumo is very clear. We know what he wants. He wants success, and we want success. And he is going to be one of those people that we want to platform in order to help us be that success moving forward. So I think it's a really good move for him, his CV and his career. And before we get into, you know, the fees and everything like that, there's no getting around it. It took a long time to get this deal done, and eventually we staggered it in a way that actually works for us. But I do want to commend Bryan Mbeumo on how he actually dealt with the entire saga. Like, you never heard his agent piping up. You never heard a family member piping up or him saying anything. He reported to training. He did everything he was supposed to do and just stayed calm. Now, that says a couple of things. One, that probably there were assurances made on the club side to say, you're going to get your move, just chill out. But also a bit of maturity on his side. And one thing we've lacked in this squad is maturity a lot of the time. And you talk about culture and things like that. Maturity comes into that in tenfold. So he clearly has it, which is nice to see. And the fee, okay? The fee that we've paid, 65 million plus 6 in add-ons. First of all, the add-ons bit, I don't care about the add-ons, because I've always said this. If a player goes on to achieve those add-ons, then he's worth the money. So these add-ons are going to be personal performance like goals and assists, but also half of it is, or some of it is contingent on us making the Champions League this season. I don't think we're going to do that this season, I'll be honest. I think we can get close if we do get some other signings right, but I don't think we'll get there this season. We need to just focus on the build properly now that it's, start from the foundations and rise back up again. But Mbeumo, for that amount of money, let's say the 6 million in add-ons, whatever, because if he achieves them, like I said, then it's worth it. The 65 million is a lot of money. I think it's roughly about £5 million more than where we wanted to be, I'll be honest. And had we moved a bit quicker, maybe we could have got something with a 5 in front of it, late 5s, but then the add-ons would have probably taken it to overall the 70 million figure. But we got it with a 6 in front of it. It's 2.5 million more, essentially, than Cunha. Obviously, Cunha had a release clause, but Cunha, as an example, we staggered that over 3 installments. We've staggered Mbeumo over 4. So we're paying, really, this summer, 15 or so million, like something like that, just to get the deal done for this summer. And also, he signed, I believe, a 5-year contract, a contract going from now until 2030 with the option of another year. And he's 25 years old now, so we've got him under contract until he turns 30, 31. We'll have him for his prime years. And we've staggered it along that time. So if someone comes in for him, if it doesn't work out, whatever, then we can just try and make that money back, which isn't going to be huge in terms of how much we've gotten rid of versus how much is coming in, because installment-wise, we wouldn't have paid the full amount if it doesn't work out, worst case scenario. But if it does, then we've got a really good signing for the next few years. And also, the wages, no one's talking about them because they're not big. And Cunha's isn't that big either. Like, we'll talk about Rashford in a separate video, but now that he's going to Barcelona, that's 300 or so K a week out of the wage budget. Both Bryan Mbeumo and Cunha are coming in for about the same amount as that, as in both of those players combined for the same amount as Rashford, and both are younger and are hungrier to succeed at Manchester United. So that's really good. And I'm sorry, I don't look at figures too much. I don't look at stats. But this has to give you some sort of perspective on Bryan Mbeumo with this deal, because this is just the world that we're living in at the moment. Elanga, 6 goals, 11 assists. He goes for 55 million to Newcastle, who have lost out on like 6 or 7 of their targets, by the way. Noni Madueke, 7 goals and 3 assists. He's gone for 49.5 million, plus about 4 or 5 in add-ons, so that'll take it to 52 to 55 million as well. Mohamed Kudus, 5 goals and 3 assists, and he's already pissed off like half of London and his old club and treated them pretty poorly for £55 million. And Mbeumo, 20 goals, 7 assists for 65. Like, it's more than that, and I think those sort of stats isn't £15 million worth more stats. I think it's a lot more than that. And I think Ineos have just done a really good deal. In terms of structuring the payments and staggering it, that's what we should be doing, because it amortizes to a point where we can still do other business. But before we get on to the other business, this is a guy whose style is something we've needed for so long. We saw with Anthony, we saw with all these types of right wingers who have come into the club, Sancho obviously, just this pepification of football where your wingers don't take on their man, they don't take shots, they don't do what they're supposed to do anymore. He's an old school winger, and I love that. Bombing forward, that's exactly the type of player that we need, and his work rate is exceptional, and that's something that Amorim is going to really like, because he seems like a good, humble lad, and that's what you want, and the work rate typifies that. But also, he has outperformed in terms of statistics for the past 3 years exactly how Brentford play. Like, Brentford are a counter-attacking team, so you don't expect his passing figures to be that high, or his scoring figures, or his assist figures, and yet they all are. So this is a phenomenal signing for Manchester United, because he's going to join a system which is similar a little bit to what Brentford were doing in terms of their transition, but we've got a player who's techie on the ball and is going to have good players around him in those advanced positions. We're talking about Bruno. We're talking about, obviously, Cunha. And maybe, a new striker, or Xerxes or Højlund can hopefully improve. But definitely Xerxes is the more technical player out of the two. And I think, I've always said this with Xerxes as well, I think he'll come on leaps and bounds this season if he can watch his injuries. Because having a player that can drop deeper and link up and have players like Cunha and